president and linking it to this headline about the poisoned chalice, looking at the history, and we just go back to the first deputy president by title, William Ruto, that this position has not been comfortable for any of the three people who've been in that position. He even suggests, the professor, that President Ruto may promise someone or may go with someone as running mate, but once they become president, go for impeachment, just like he did with the Rigathi Gachagua. Do you see that trend forming, that the position of deputy presidents or deputy governor for that matter will just be one that is not so comfortable going forward?
Well, thank you. You're speaking to me because I'm a little bit laughing because I was a deputy governor.
Yes.
And when you talk about deputy president, deputy governor, deputy principal, anything deputy is always having an issue. But that does not mean that Professor Ruto-Kindiki has got an issue with the president. It doesn't.
I'm just talking about any other person.
Yeah, any other person. I think it's a position that is a little bit misunderstood. And if you look at the swearing-in statement of a deputy governor, the deputy president got a little bit overall. But for deputy governor, he says that I'm so-and-so serving the office of deputy governor, and I will advise the governor when asked to do so. That is your role. When asked to do so. Mm-hmm. It basically means that your role is not mandatory. It is actually upon the governor to ask you to advise.
Do you think that was an oversight?
I don't think it was an oversight, because if it was an oversight, by now it would have been changed, because deputy governors, even during my time, complained a lot. And most of the deputy governors, if you check around, are not even known by anybody. One, because their roles are not there, and two, most of them, not all, most of them are having issues with their governors. And so the same thing happens with the deputy president. And we've seen if the president does not feel comfortable to work with the deputy, then you find that all power, most of the powers actually are vested on the president. And so many people will actually go where the power is, and the deputy president will be left on the cold. And so I think what we need to do as a country is to try again to look at the relationship, not the roles, the relationship between the president and the deputy president.
How do we legislate on a relationship?
Yes, exactly. I don't know, today you're reading my mind. Yeah. When we were deputy governors and those issues came, we were taken to Naivasha. And one of the head of public service then came and told us something that I think is important. He said, it is not easy to legislate on relationships. And so it is important that when a deputy president is being picked, these are people that should be having very cordial relationship, first of all at personal level, before we actually come to the official. Because if they only met at the official level, basically we're going to see the issues that we are seeing in most of the deputy president. We saw this between Uhuru and Ruto, but during the second term. The first time there was a little bit of friction, but during the second term is very open. We have seen it between Ruto and Gachagua, but I think that was a making of Gachagua. If you actually look at everything, personally, I will blame 100% Gachagua, because when you start talking about dividing this country into shares, when this country, the constitution is very clear that Kenyans is one, that basically means he started creating issues for himself. For Deputy President now, Professor Ruto-Kindiki, I really don't think why we are trying to create an issue. We are talking about we are going to see things come in January, we are going to see this. This is something that himself yesterday said that is a matter that is not there. Mm-hmm. This is politics. And I said in my beginning statement that the last year to an election is like the last round of a lap when you're running, when now you have to jostle for a position, because in front of you, there's the mark, and everybody tries to do everything possible to reach. And so we will see a lot of political things happening around the office of the deputy president. What I will assure Kenyans today, and anybody listening to me, is that the position of the deputy president, Professor Ruto-Kindiki, stands as it is. There is no change, and what the professor from Meru said is as critical as it is. It is important that the president retain Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua for 2027 election for the purposes of Mount Kenya. There was a professor that spoke here.
Naituli. I think he was referring to the Professor Ruto-Kindiki.
There was a professor that spoke here and said it is important that the Deputy President Ruto-Kindiki be retained.
Yes.
That professor said something that is very important.
Yes.
Because for the first time, we are seeing a deputy president from Mount Kenya East. And for the first time, people in Mount Kenya East are realizing that Mount Kenya West don't really care. They don't really matter. They really think about them.
Okay.
They actually use them most of the times.
And we'll come to discuss that issue about Mount Kenya politics. But Madam Chege, we are, for the second time, considering the possible exit of